story this morning from my own experience. As you know, I was new to Rochester this past summer into fall, and when I first came here, I thought maybe I would look for a religious community of my own, some place to be spiritually fed and sustained while I'm here serving you all. And so I Googled a few places, and I sort of researched and did a little bit of, looked at their social media presence, looked at what they were up to, and I decided I'd try out a religious community. I got in my car, I drove over. On the way over, I was wondering, what can I expect being at a new place? There's always, with a new place for me, there's always a bit of nervousness. What's going to happen there that I won't expect? What's going to be different from what I expect? What's unknown? And there was also a bit of excitement. What's possible? What could be possible here? So I parked my car and I got out and I stepped into this community, stepped through the front doors. And lo and behold, what they were doing was not what I had expected. I was going in there expecting sort of a conventional worship service, and these folks were making dinner with each other. And folks had to sign up on a sign-up sheet, and so, I'm just kind of like confused. And I walked up to a few folks to just talk to them and see, what's going on here? What do I need to do? How do I get involved? And after I talked to a few folks, one of the leaders there very graciously says, well, we need to get you a name tag. So folks start to look around, and lo and behold, they're out of those little blank paper name tags that you can write your name on. And this community has sort of like these little whiteboard squares that they write their names on with permanent marker. And so they realize that's probably what I need, but they don't have any blank ones. And so then starts this conversation around who hasn't been coming to church lately? Whose name can we take down from the list and erase so that I can put my name down? And they're like, oh, well, this person moved, and this person hasn't been coming lately. I wonder if they'll come back. And I'm just standing there like, oh my gosh, this is so awkward. And so finally they decide on somebody who's moved, and the paper towel comes out with some water on it, and they carefully wash off the name and hand it to me blank with a permanent marker. And with some trepidation, I write my name down. And I put it on, and I go about, I think I was getting a salad prepared or something. But I thought to myself, my gosh, church is something that I do. I'm fairly socially outgoing. And so if I wasn't fairly socially outgoing, and if I didn't have a lot of tolerance for maybe some social awkwardness, I don't know that I would, ever come back here. I don't know that I would have ever even known to ask anyone for a name tag. And this got me thinking. It got me thinking around, how do we welcome folks here? How do we welcome folks and help them feel welcome? And how do we embrace sort of this piece around radical hospitality? How do we embrace hospitality down to our root, down to our core? So I want to invite you to just take a moment now to consider a time when you have truly felt welcome somewhere. I'll give you a minute to get there. It could be somewhere that you arrived completely brand new, or it could be somewhere that you were returning. But just take a moment to get your mind there. I wonder, how did you know you were welcome? How did others treat you or see you? How did you feel? How does it feel to be welcomed somewhere? Now I'm wondering if folks would just even call out maybe a couple of words that come to mind when you think about how you felt, how it felt to be welcomed.
Warm.
Warm.
Silent.
Excited? Accepted. Expected. Joyful. Present. Relieved. Loved. Embraced. So to me, to feel truly welcomed has been to be accepted exactly as I am. It means coming into somewhere that I can be fully seen and understood, where I can feel comfortable and feel somewhat at home in my own skin. To be welcomed often comes with a gesture of some sort from another person. Words or body language, or even just an invitation that lets me know that it's okay to be here, that my presence is valued. We can cite plenty of examples of when we have not felt welcomed, like our reading this morning. There have been times when you come to a new place and there are all sorts of unspoken expectations or assumptions about how people should act, or look, smell, or behave. I know we have all been there too. And I don't want to spend too much time there because I feel like it's more valuable to focus on what actually creates welcome, what actually creates that sense of hospitality down to our core. So I got thinking about what's true about welcome, and I thought I'd share some of these truths that I could see with you all, and I hope they line up with your experiences. To be welcome somewhere, folks need to anticipate that you are coming. To be welcome somewhere, your perspective is valued and you are invited to make a contribution, to add to the place. To be welcome somewhere is to be greeted without expectations or assumptions. And to be welcome somewhere is to find a feeling of home or comfort, a place where you can be yourself. Now I know that's kind of a lot to throw at you, so I want to unpack it for a second here. To be welcome somewhere, folks need to anticipate that you are coming. Now for some this may seem strange. I have many friends who had a culture in their homes of folks regularly dropping by, kind of having this open door for people to stop in whenever they would like. That was never my experience. In New England, we make appointments on our calendars. We make intentional time. But in those homes where people just regularly drop by, there are ways people have anticipated already that people are going to come around by keeping snacks handy, or the tea kettle full, or the door unlocked. Folks are anticipating someone is going to come. And if you grew up in a place like I did, where guests were always invited over at a specific time, and maybe one of the unspoken expectations was you didn't show up earlier than that time. It often gave you and your family time to prepare for whoever was going to come, maybe cleaning the house, or getting snacks and beverages ready, possibly setting a table if there was going to be a meal. To feel truly welcome is to know there is room for you here. We are ready for you to come through the door. There are enough blank name tags. There's plenty of food at coffee hour. There is someone prepared to show you where you need to be to get settled. People are eager to talk to you after the service. To be welcomed somewhere, folks need to anticipate that you are coming. And my second point, to be welcome somewhere, your perspective is valued, and you are invited to make a contribution to add to the place. One of the least welcoming statements I frequently hear is, well, the way we've always done it is. And I don't think it comes from a place of desiring to be unwelcoming, right? I think it comes from a place around, sort of anxiety around change. Anytime someone new enters a situation, the situation has already changed. It has changed because that person was not present there before. It has changed because that person brings with them a whole set of cultural practices and norms and family dynamics, just like we all bring into a room or into a space. In many Christian churches, today is Palm Sunday, and maybe some here, the day each year when churches mark Jesus' entry into Jerusalem. In the story of Jesus' arrival, so many were excited to see him as they had heard about his incredible teaching and the healings he had performed. Jesus was welcomed enthusiastically for these parts of himself. They laid palms at his feet and shouted in celebration. But when he began challenging political authority and when he began to bring his full self to Jerusalem, when he started saying things that challenged the norm, folks persecuted and judged him. And I think most of us, or maybe we all know how that story ended. More on that next week. On a much smaller scale, we are invited to change with each new person who walks through the door. And it may not be huge changes of challenging power structures or completely redoing the way things have always been done. But being willing to see and accept someone and adapt to who they are and what they are bringing is part of creating a full and deep welcome. Asking someone to contribute to a cause or activity and allowing them to figure out a way to bring their skills and interests to the task is welcoming. Inviting people into dialogue about their opinions and experiences is welcoming. To be welcomed somewhere, your perspective is valued and you are invited to make a contribution, to add to the place. And this leads to the piece about being greeted without expectations or assumptions. I love the way our reading talks this morning about the many norms and expectations that we are expected to follow when showing up to the metaphorical table. It's worth paying attention to what ours are. As a fairly young person, when I show up to a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a common assumption is that this is my first time attending a UU community. And rather than being asked, is this your first time at church, I wonder about asking folks what brought them here today, or asking how they found this place, or asking a curious question about their interests, or just asking someone how they are. And I've been to that place where I have felt way overwhelmed with the expectation the first time I meet someone that I must come back again and again, that I must keep coming back. And this is hard for folks for whom it's hard to say no or to draw boundaries. Some folks feel they may need to lie in order to have a good reaction with a new person or a good interaction with a new person that they've just met. Of course I'll be back, they say, while thinking, this place is kind of creepy. Right? To be welcomed somewhere is to be greeted without expectations or assumptions. And it feels important to say here that we are a covenantal faith. Covenant is about the promises we make to one another, about how we are going to be together. The covenant is the container that holds us together, and covenants, promises, are often broken. I mention this here because it feels important to say all are welcome here. We provide a welcoming entryway for all who can live within the covenant, and there are times when folks come through the doors, and whether intentionally or unintentionally, there can be a threat to safety or mistreatment of others. If these situations can be rectified through covenant, then all can be welcome here. If safety, whether spiritual, emotional, physical, or otherwise, is continually not respected, limits have to be set. It's a part of recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of all that at times limits have to be set for the greater good. And this might be one place where we can say there is an expectation of right relationship with one another. And finally, to be welcomed somewhere is to find a feeling of home or comfort, a place where you can be yourself inside of all of us. I think this is one of our core human needs that we are often seeking to be met, to be accepted, to have a sense of home. It is where it all began, where our understanding of the world and what it means to be human started. And to be seen for who we are and still loved, that is the saving message of this faith. You are loved for who you are. In your messiness, in your imperfections, in your mistakes, in your joys, and in your sorrows, you are loved for who you are, no matter what. A theological challenges us all to truly love one another, even those we would rather not love. And to live into this peace of welcome is hard. I'm sure we can think of times in our lives when we have not offered the welcome we would have liked to, when we have fallen short. And I want to just invite you into a moment of self-forgiveness and learning around those times this morning. To truly be the embodiment of offering a love to all can be a challenge, but it is so worth learning to live into. To love others for who they are is to say that the welcome table is open. It is for everyone. And when it is for everyone, so much is possible. May we welcome folks for who you are, seen, accepted without expectations or assumptions. May we welcome folks wherever you come from, churched, unchurched, life fully together, life falling apart, and everywhere in between. May we welcome folks, whomever you love, however you choose to love, know that you are loved for who you are. Welcome home. Let this be